you can't erase the journeys made.
A trail to be, or not to be. A town divided number 206. The Bombala Rail Trail. Bombala, New South Wales. In the tiny yet beautiful town of Bombala, $1 million question hangs over the old Monaro railway line. Should $1 million of grant funding be used to build a bicycle trail directly over the heritage rail corridor, or should the trail be built beside it, preserving the potential for future rail use? On Friday, the 8th of August 2025, that question brought together two sharply divided groups, and a mix of council staff, environmental consultants, and community advocates. The gathering aimed to air concerns and explain the status of the Bombala section of the Monaro Rail Trail, but the exchanges revealed just how far apart the sides remain. It should be noted that at the very outset of the meeting, council staff made it clear they did not want members of the public recording. Despite the gathering taking place on public land, concerning a publicly funded project, and involving issues already mired in transparency concerns, the decision to forbid recording was not just petty. It was profoundly unacceptable in a democratic society. This was an opportunity to preserve an accurate, verifiable record, something that would serve both critics and supporters of the project. No matter which side of the fence you're on, surely the best way to discredit the opposing view is with hard evidence, not by ensuring none exists. Alas, once again, council chose opacity, forcing those who could not attend in person to rely on hearsay rather than a full and transparent record. Credit to Tony Lickas, Chief of Infrastructure and Projects at the snowy Monaro Regional Council, who, after the meeting, was willing to go on the record and present his perspective on the environmental concerns. Two visions. One corridor. On one side, council staff and bicycle trail proponents emphasize they are bound by the terms of the Investing in Our Communities grant, a program that allocated $1 million specifically for building a rail trail. Your grant money is not just $1 million to do with whatever we like, a council representative explained. The grant was given to build the rail trail. We can't then say, oh, we don't want to do that, we want to do this instead. This means building beside the railway line, as suggested by heritage advocates, would require a redesign, new approvals, and potentially the return or loss of the grant. The Friends of Bombala Railway and supporters of the Cooma Monaro Progress Association, however, argue that preserving the track is essential for future heritage tourism and rail revival. Their preferred model follows examples from Newcastle and elsewhere, where cycle paths run alongside rail lines. Could you look at doing a model that's happening all over Newcastle and put it beside the line? One attendee pressed. Environmental and safety concerns. A central flashpoint in the meeting was environmental contamination along the rail corridor. The council engaged Robson Laboratories to assess soil conditions. Environmental scientist Caitlin outlined the process. We broke the trail into areas of concern, focused testing where contamination was most likely, near the petrol station and historic fill areas. We tested for contaminants. All results came back significantly below the criteria for public use. However, several in the heritage group challenged the thoroughness of the testing, particularly over the presence of silica and coal ash. If you've walked the 3.5 kilometers, you've walked on silica the entire way, one member argued, warning about potential crystalline silica and naturally occurring asbestos in imported ballast rock. The consultants responded that the type of silica found was likely amorphous, not the dangerous crystalline form, and that management plans during construction would ensure dust control and safety. Still, they admitted silica was not directly tested in this round. The money question. Beyond contamination, cost uncertainty loomed large. The project is only at 30% design, and as one project manager noted, if we get to the point where it's unaffordable, we will go back to council. If we're looking at complete encapsulation with membrane and the whole works, that may be unaffordable. Tender prices, environmental compliance, and construction choices, sealed surface versus gravel, could all alter whether the trail proceeds. A community split. The meeting closed without a resolution, but the division was clear. Supporters of the bicycle trail over rail see it as a rare opportunity to attract tourism, connect to existing walking tracks, and finally make use of a disused asset. Opponents see it as an irreversible step that destroys any hope of heritage rail returning. One local cafe owner was openly skeptical about the meeting when the project design was still only 30% complete and walked out early. Paraphrasing his view, "I'm not against the rail trail, but calling this meeting now, with so little of the design finalized, is just going to put people off. Come back with a proper proposal, or all you'll do is frustrate everyone." For now, the fate of the Bombala Rail Corridor remains undecided, a balancing act between grant deadlines, environmental risk, and a community's competing dreams for the same strip of steel and soil. The following audio excerpts were recorded after the meeting, reflecting the difference in community views and perspectives.
So I'm with Tony Lickis. Tony, what are your thoughts on this rail trail? There are a lot of concerns regarding coal ash or fly ash and asbestos. Do you share those concerns?
Based on the testing that we've received from our environmental experts, no, I don't have those concerns. And if we happen to find something at a later date, there are engineering protocols that we can put in place to keep the community safe.
There are also concerns from the community saying that they weren't confident in the testing. Do you share those concerns regarding the quality of testing that's taken place?
No, I don't. I don't share those concerns at all. Testing was done by NATA-approved laboratories by a reputable firm.
Great. Thank you very much, Tony.
No worries.
Malcolm, it's great to have you in the Monaro Zone. I'm just here with you in Bombala. We've just walked the proposed rail trail track. What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's going to be great for the community if it goes ahead. Really boost tourism and just the general health of our town. I think it'll be great.
Now, there have been a lot of locals beside you that have expressed a lot of concern, such as environmental contamination. Are these concerns that you share, or do you think the benefits may outweigh them, even if they do exist?
The benefits definitely outweigh, and the council will definitely do their due diligence in that area. So I've no concern at all with the strict policies they have and regulations they have in place.
And what are some of the expected or hopeful benefits that you would like to see come out of this?
I'd love to see. I think it'll be a great boost for the town. But I think it would be great for the local shops in the town, bringing more tourism in, and also for the people that are in the town now. So for myself, I'm very active and like going running and riding and different things. And it's going to be good for me and my family and hopefully the whole community.
And you're a Bombala local. You have a family here, so you also care about the environment as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we my company actually does a lot of environmental works around the region. But, I think for people to be able to see different parts of the environment we have right at our doorstep here, it'd be great.
Oh, well, what company do you run?
Stones Forestry Contracting.
And what do they do?
We do services to forestry, but also reforestation projects, and we also build animal sanctuaries around the different places and work with national parks, forestry corp, council, and a lot of private landholders and that.
Will you be putting in a tender for this?
I'd be interested to see what our services could provide, but it'd be really great to see local contractors involved in it, because there's a lot of people that like concreters and builders and all sorts of people that could be involved in this. Yeah.
No, that I could see a big cash injection to the local economy if they use local labor and local tendering.
Yeah, definitely in the job itself, but also after bringing the tourism. So, yeah.
And I believe your wife was also involved in Bombala shops.
Yeah, well, she had a cafe and she sold it to some other local people here. But she's been quite involved in the community in that space as well.
Might be time to start another cafe.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, thank you for your time, Malcolm. Much appreciated.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Hi, Barry. I'm with Barry. You're a long-time Bombala local. What's your opposition to the Bombala Rail Trail in its current iteration?
Well, Bombala is the start of the whole thing from Pallarang right through to Bombala. I see it as a real impediment to the proposed C2E rail link. It's also way out of proportion in cost to return balance. I mean, there's only a few people want it. Most of the people that I know are totally against it. And I can't see it ever paying for itself or being an asset to the Shire. There's too much for too few people. Simple as that.
And are there any environmental concerns that you have regarding the development?
Yes, apparently some of the coal ash from Kerma to Bombala contains material out of power stations and steelworks. And I know for a fact that that's quite likely to contain asbestos and maybe even heavy metals like mercury, lead, and even silicon that sort of stuff. So it's got to be tested before they can do anything.
Thank you very much, Barry. And I'm also here with the Vice President of the Cooma Monaro Progress Association. Today, the council tried to allay a lot of community fears surrounding the contamination of the site.
There's a large problem with communication. The Friends of Bombala Rail really haven't been asked or had any input into this whole thing, and they're worried about all their work over the years just been thrown to a side and not recognised the amount of hundreds of hours they've put in and their plans to put the push carts and everything up the rail line. And they find the Shire has not even contacted them. The rail people said, but I talked to Alan Simpson and the guys, and they know a fact. They have not been contacted by these people to try to get some agreement. One of the things was that they could simply put the rail trail right next to the train line. Yes, it has to be a few metres away because of regulations and stuff, but in some of these cases, it's going to be down a bankment and some 50 to 100 metres away and still within rail land. This would let us have both organisations thriving, and it would mitigate a lot of the problems we've got with the coal ash and the contaminants because it came from the steelworks. So there's a lot more like asbestos and silica and all that. And they sort of rigged the findings to only be very narrow in what they were looking for and not encompassing the whole story of what's damaging in the fill of the railway.
Ian, are you saying that during the testing they didn't actually test for heavy metals or asbestos?
No, they didn't. The main one was silica, and she stated today that she said that they didn't specifically test for silica at all. And Andrew Thaler turned around and showed them a couple of very large examples, which was quite obvious. And then she turned around and said, oh, no, it has to be this type of silica. It has to be porous. And when I looked at Andrew's sample, it was porous. It was exactly what she said it was, but she was trying to gloss over that. It was all okay. The councillor the councillors who would like to see this project go ahead was trying to hurry us along and get past this subject, and abrupting any person. The one little guy from the Friends of Bombala wanted to know about the heritage, he wanted to know about the precinct and the whole that, and Narelle Davis turned around and abruptly cut him off at least half a dozen times. That is not fair. When they've sent their representative along and he came along, I introduced him to me, I had a good old chat, I had my list, and he had an extensive list from Alan Simpson on what he was to ask. He never even got halfway through the list, and I had to take the list off him and hammer him for the rest. Now, when they are all looking at the money, and that's all they're looking at, and we have a big problem with that because $1 million is not even going to sneeze when they've spent $80,000 so far, and they didn't even do the test properly. So these sorts of things haven't been evaluated. They have no EIO, they have no DA, they have no, they're in negotiations with the Department of Transport and the department that own the land or lease the land or look after the land, UGL, and both UGL have stated to Richard and the rail group that we've been working on this project to the, C to E, like Barry just said. That project we've been working on for 9 years now, and we know pretty near everything's to be known about that. We know the Transport Board can't give them access to that area because of A, the coal dust, all the problems in such with this going land, and the Department of Defence, Department of Rail, ACT, Victorian Government and the New South Wales Government about to activate this line. Now, the historical people have already activated past the line, but what's going to happen is that they're going to run ammunition ordnance, I don't know if I say that right, all the way from Forbes Cootamundra, yes, a new rail line through alongside the light rail to Hume, and then they're going to keep going all the way to. So this is all eventually coming. It's taken a while. One of the big things is Victorian government are just to write to the New South Wales government, and this will be done in the next few months, and asking that they would like to continue the rail line and do it up from Bairnsdale all the way up to Natagutta, which is near Delegate. The Aborigines have looked at this, and we've done all the surveys to do with all this through that land, and the forestry department, farmers, the whole lot. We've walked it, mapped it out, and engineered it to the T and cost evaluated. This is all going to happen. What's the rail people, what these bike people are doing is jumping in before that happens, so that that we've got to do this, and then we'll have another expense to go around this system. But we'll put a few things in place. The track that we won't use for the new train, but that track is very valuable to the Department of Transport and heritage people and heritage groups all over Australia. They can't use it for scrap to extend their track. No way, no how. It's got to be stored specially. The problem is, if they decide to do what they do and come in with their landfill and go over that, they've got to take at least, and they've said in their EIO, that, which is just, anyway, they've said that they've got to take 6 to 8 inches or even more than 20 centimetres off the top, where they're going to put all that coal ash, all those sleepers that are, soaked with everything under the sun. And that problem with that is we're going to have to store that somewhere. It's going to have to be a dam that's on top of a hill with no water. It's going to have to be covered in plastic. That cost is more than $1 million to build that dam just to do that project, let alone what they're doing. But what they don't understand is, if they talk to the Friends of New South Wales, they talk to Gordon Stratton, and they talk to all the train people could help them engineer a solution right beside the track, and wouldn't have half these problems, and would have a decent go of making a pretty fantastic thing. Now, if we had a train that went up to a station, picked up a whole stack of bikes, went down to another station, and you went backwards and forwards on that, a train would bring prosperity to this area like you would not believe. A student in Cooma, hop on the train and go to uni or whatever. Somebody shopping. The amount of traffic we have got on that Monaro Highway is ludicrous. Years ago, when we were running the train to Cooma, it was absolutely packed on a Friday and a Saturday and a Sunday night with skiers. And all the buses came in and took them to the mountains. You can ask all the locals how good that worked. Are these people blind? And we need to do a multitasking thing, not just, with blinkers on and look at one thing. They could then do a lot more of this trail and track if they just got in and talked to everybody and come up with a collective solution that benefits everybody. I seem to think that we've got a big problem with our shire, that some of our councillors are so money hungry and so orientated on, let's rip and do, and let's, the cowboy episode, that'll put our shire backwards by millions of dollars and in a real bad situation. They need to cost effectively look at this in more detail.
Thank you very much, Ian. I can tell that you're not a fan of the rail trail.
Oh, no. Hey, as I said, I own a fair bit of the rail trail at Tumbarumba, and we've got it, with rubbish and shooting and camping and all sorts of things next to the track. It's progress, but if I've got a situation where I've got a whole stack of people who've been working on a railway station for more than 50 years, they've painted it, sanded it back, built a complete bridge, worked under Heritage Australia. This is all under a heritage order. And the reason they're going around that area, they knew that they couldn't touch it because it was under a heritage order. Do they realise that the track's under a heritage order too?
Thank you very much.
There was a time when the rails ran strong through Bombala's heart, where they belong. Iron and timber, sweat and pride, built by hands that never shied. Now the weeds creep through the ties, and council speaks in hollow lies. They say it's gone, they say move on, but some things ain't meant to be withdrawn. The rails still whisper when the cold wind blows, echoes of engine stories untold. You can pull up the tracks, try to make them fade, but you can't erase the journeys made. Alan walks where the trains once rolled, hands worn rough, but his grip still holds. Fate keeps watch by the station door, sweeping dust like she's done before. They work these yards with love and care, kept the rails from rust and despair. They don't ask for much, they just want to see a town that remembers its own history. The rails still whisper when the cold wind blows, echoes of engine stories untold. You can pull up the tracks, try to make them fade, but you can't erase the journeys made. One town, one line, 1,000 dreams. They don't see what the railway means. If they tear it down, if they take it away, what will be left to mark yesterday? The rails still whisper when the cold wind blows, echoes of engine stories untold. You can break the steel, turn it into dust, but the heart of this town won't give up on us.